You have all asked a bunch more great Minecraft questions, and some of the answers are not what you'd expect, so in this video I'll answer 25 questions about Minecraft. The first question says, I want to strip mine and find iron, but I don't want to run into caves or the deep dark because they're updated to 1.19. Well, of course caves in the deep dark are quite dangerous, so you have 2 or 3 good options for getting iron without that. Your first option is the Stony Peaks biome. This generally generates around deserts and acacia biomes as well as jungles, and it features a lot of surface iron as well as surface coal, and I would say it's more than enough than you would need as it is very frequent here. Your second option is to mine a tunnel, and then start doing strip mining at Y level 14. You could also try a different Y level, but generally something around 14 is going to give you the best amount of iron. And your final option would be strip mining at Y level -32. Although this will often have you run into the deep dark and also caves, one thing that makes it great is that if you do happen to run into a large iron ore vein here, because this is where they're centered, once you've found that large iron ore vein, you can basically mine that out infinitely without the need for going in caves or any other place that's dangerous, getting yourself literal thousands and thousands of iron ore blocks. The next question asks how biome blending works. Well, biome blending is actually very interesting. Now you go under video settings. This looks a bit different because I have the sodium mod on. If you turn biome blending all the way off, what basically happens is there's these very strange harsh borders between two biomes. And this can be useful if you want to know exactly what biome something is in, but it can also be a bit annoying if you're seeing these strange visual jagged lines between two biomes, so it's not very realistic. Now if we turn it all the way up, you can see there is basically no way of telling the difference between when one biome starts and the other ends. So for instance here, this is one type of ocean biome, and now we're going to very slowly transition in color over to the other ocean biome, but that's basically what biome blending does. And the next question asks, when will the combat update launch? Well, there have been some combat snapshots here and there ever since the update Aquatic, but considering the fact there hasn't been one for over a year now, I would say that it's most likely one of two things. Either they're not going to put it out at all and the combat will stay the same, or potentially what they could do is they'll have a new update that's fully focusing on combat, so instead of just slowly changing something over several years of snapshots, they'll have their entire team be dedicated to that, and it's not actually unlikely that 1.20 could be a combat update. Am I considered a Redstoner if I understand most redstone and can do a little bit of stuff with it? Well, I would say that depends on your definition, but personally I would consider someone to be a redstone enthusiast if they like doing redstone, and so it's not really about the skill level that you have. And I would encourage you to do whatever you find most interesting in the game, not necessarily something that you have to be the best at for it to be enjoyable. And even with some basic redstone, you can make some incredibly cool inventions, like this interesting clock here. The next question asks, will single player ban exit in Minecraft 1.19.1 Java? I'm assuming you're asking whether or not single player bans are going to be removed from 1.19.1. Well, the good news is there actually are no single player bans in Minecraft 1.19.1 or any other version of Minecraft Java Edition. There are unfortunately ways to get banned from single player in Bedrock Edition, but in Java, even if you are banned permanently from multiplayer, you will never lose access to your single player worlds, even from your banned account. So single player bans are not being added to Minecraft Java Edition. Will Minecraft Bedrock be the same thing as Minecraft Java in the future? Well, this is something that's been speculated by the community for a very long time. However, over the past couple years, there's been multiple official statements by Mojang saying that they have no intentions of fully merging Bedrock or Java, simply having full parity between them, with of course the differences being Java's modding support and Bedrock's marketplace. However, with a lot of recent compatibility changes, and also now that Bedrock owners get Java for free and Java owners get Bedrock for free, the two versions are definitely becoming a lot closer together than they were back in the day. Do cats take damage on dripstone spikes? Well, normally when a cat falls down, they'll actually take no fall damage. Because of the way they're coded, they just cannot, because of course cats always land on their feet. However, if they land on the dripstone spikes, what will happen? As of course dripstone spikes hurt the player when fallen on, but if we have the cats go down there, you can see they've taken no fall damage for falling on those dripstone spikes. They're completely fine, even though these ones did fall directly on them. whereas of course if you even jump on top of dripstone spikes as the player, you take quite a bit of fall damage. So there you have it, the cats are dexterous enough to not be hurt on the dripstone spikes, as well as not being hurt by any other type of fall damage. Now this question asks the best way of dealing with ghasts. Well, I have 4 of them here. The first thing is, if they can't see you, they will not shoot at you. So if you can find a nice little area to hide behind, even if it's 1 block, those ghasts will not shoot you. Now something to be aware of is if you have a shield up and they shoot a fireball at you, that shield will actually not block the damage. It can block it somewhat, but not all the way. So what I'd suggest to do to actually kill them is to use a multi-shot crossbow or a bow. The multi-shot crossbow makes it a lot easier to hit them, as you have much more lenience on where you can fire and still hit them. But even just using a simple bow can work, although of course they do move around quite a bit, so it's always good to bring a lot of arrows with you. Do you think Minecraft should add some more things to make it more difficult? I would say that the developers have been adding a lot more things to make Minecraft more difficult. So for instance, the addition of the raids, the deep dark, as well as the Warden. We also have the bastions and the piglin brutes. So definitely giving Minecraft more challenges and more things to do has been a goal of the developers. And if you've already found a lot of the recent additions to the game to be too easy, try leveling them up. So for instance, try raiding an ancient city without ever sneaking. Maybe try killing multiple wardens at a time. Or you could even give yourself other challenges, taking the current challenges in the game and leveling them up to make them even more difficult. And I wouldn't necessarily think that the Warden could be called easy. Speaking of the Warden, is it mechanical or biological? This question asks, and I really like this question because the lore of the game is somewhat unspecific as to what the Warden is. However, I would say upon close inspection of the Warden, it does resemble different parts of the Skulk, and as the Skulk is some sort of strange plant or animal made out of experience orbs, I would say whether the Warden is an animal or a plant, it definitely is not a machine, and seems to act like a biological being, unlike, let's say, the Iron Golem. Although still as dangerous as an Iron Golem. How many different biomes are there in Minecraft? Well, there are a lot of different biomes. It depends on if you're talking about the overworld or the nether, or all the biomes combined. In the nether there are 5 biomes, in the end there are 5 biomes, and in the overworld there are 50 biomes. There's also one strange biome that you can get in a super flat preset, but for things you'd encounter in any normal world, if you're including all 3 dimensions, there are 60 different biomes. Although some of these biomes only appear in certain versions or certain ways, still you're generally going to run into most of them, and of course for main biome types there's a couple less, but a lot of these are variants and things like, let's say, different Badlands variants. What is the most useless villager trade? Well, I'd say the worst villager trade is a diamond for an emerald, but in terms of the most useless, we have the shepherd villager. Now this villager has a couple trades that are okay, but generally most of what you get are things that you'd never really want to do anyway, like let's say 1 emerald for some carpets, or emeralds for shears. And even at its upper level trades, we have things like emeralds for a bed. Of course, these trades aren't completely useless, but compared to most other villager types, they really are. And with the final trade that's meant to be the best with these, we literally just have paintings, which are made with 1 wool block and 8 sticks. So for the very best trade this shepherd has, we have 2 emeralds for 3 pieces of wool and a couple sticks. So I'd say the most useless villager trades come from the shepherd. The next question is comparator mechanics and explained like you would to a 5-year-old. Well, I'm not sure if I can quite do that, but there are 3 ways that comparators work. The first one is whatever signal goes into the back of it, it'll have the same come out of the front. They could sort of work like a repeater. Now the second use is sensing the block state of something. So for instance, this composter is empty, therefore we have no signal because this comparator is sensing that. If we put in 1 thing, you can see we have 1 bit of output there. If we put in a second thing, we have a bit more output, so on and so forth as the levels of this change. And the third thing, which is probably the most complicated, is subtract mode. Basically, it is the power level of the input going in the front minus whatever power level is greater between the left and the right. And so as an example, right here we have power level 15 going in the front. Now on both these sides we have 2 power levels. This one which is 8 redstone dust away, and this one which isn't powered. So 15 minus 8. That gives us 7, and if you count this, there are indeed 7 of these lit up. And that is how the comparator works. One of these questions asks, why can't Mojang add more boss mobs? Well, technically the last boss mob that was added is probably the Elder Guardian, although some people do not consider that to be a boss mob. I actually did a poll on my channel a while ago asking what people's favorite boss mob was, and the vast majority was the Ender Dragon, with the second most being the Wither, and a bunch of people considered the Warden and the Elder Guardian to not be boss mobs. But what I would say is that in terms of them adding more boss mobs, I definitely don't see any reason why they won't add more in the future. It just that, of course, as a boss mob is such a big addition, I think it'll be few and far between in updates when those are added. And with the Warden having just being added, and that realistically being a sort of boss mob, then we'll probably not see another one for a while. Is the Birch Forest update still going to be released at some point? Well, I would say that it's not at all impossible. At this point, it does seem like Mojang did not want to make it before, although it did appear to be because of time deadlines, as the actual Birch Forest's new features was basically just some flowers, a little bit of different generation with some fallen logs, and maybe a new mushroom type or two, so I wouldn't doubt seeing that being thrown in with maybe 1.20 or 1.21, but of course it's hard to say. Personally, the Birch Forest update was something I was looking forward to the most, so I definitely hope they will reconsider adding the update to it in the future. Now this question asks, what are big mushrooms / mushroom blocks useful for? Are they just decorative, or is there something else you can do? Well, them in themselves are of course just decorative, however there are some things you can do with them. For instance, if you break mushroom blocks, there's a chance that they will drop mushroom items out of them, which makes them probably the most efficient way of farming mushrooms. These are good for building blocks, but there's a trick you can do with them. If you take a mushroom block and have it be touched on all sides by any other block, it doesn't even have to be a mushroom block, and then you break all those other sides, you get to see this sort of interior mushroom texture, and you can basically use this to make a whole new type of block to build with that a lot of people probably will not know what you're even using when they see this sort of strange texture, although the stem blocks do not drop mushroom blocks when they're broken, so these ones are just purely decorative. But again, with people very rarely using them, I think something like this would make maybe a great cloud texture, or even a wallpaper. How do the physics of anvils, TNT, and other gravity items work, as they fly smoothly and they do not go in the pre-set out squares of where blocks can go? Well, it's rather interesting. We're going to start by turning on this machine that does shoot these anvils, and you can see that they do fly at an angle like that. Now if we turn on hitboxes, you can notice when these anvils are falling or being shot like that, they turn into entities. You can see they have that hitbox on them. Basically what happens is when any block falls, you can see it turns into an entity like that. Then as soon as it lands, it stops being an entity. That's actually why there's some weird glitched ways that you can get gravity falling blocks to sort of be stuck in different areas. And so for instance here you can see when all these blocks fall down, they just are converted, then unconverted from entity form to non-entity form. So technically when a block is falling, it's not actually a block but a strange entity. Is a Minecraft seed just a location? Like for instance this seed here, where we have the shipwreck that's at the dock of this village. Well, a seed is not just a location, but the idea behind this would be that the Minecraft world is just one massive generated world, and let's say the coordinates of where everything is are changed, so maybe one world's 1,000,000 would be this world's spawn point. But as crazy as it seems, that's not actually how it works, and there are simply just trillions upon trillions of Minecraft worlds, each one fully unique all the way up to the 30 million block mark. And so a Minecraft seed is not just a location on the world, although it can feel like that, as of course a lot of terrain can generate similarly, but instead it is a whole brand new world with no specific similarities to every other seed. Will a specific use ever be added to the Fletching table? Well, at this point the Fletching table only has one use, of course, which is that of turning villagers into Fletchers, and every other villager workstation does have an alternative use to it, so it only makes sense that the Fletching tables will have a use added to them. I believe Mojang said they were going to add a use to the Fletching table at one point. I would assume it'd be the new way of making tipped arrows, which could also unify the process across Bedrock and Java Edition, as of course in Java Edition you make them in the crafting table, and in Bedrock you make them in cauldrons. So I would say probably yes, in the next couple updates we will see that, and ideally it'd be something having to do with arrows, and who knows, maybe you'll even be able to craft a brand new arrow item with it. A bunch of questions asked: what is the best way of finding diamonds, including what is the best Y level for diamonds in 1.19 Bedrock Edition? Well, thankfully the right level of finding diamonds is the exact same in every single version of the game if it is 1.18 or later, and that is Y-58. You can also do Y levels similar to that, so maybe -57, -56 or something like that. One other thing you can do if you've been strip mining at this level for a very long time is use chunk base to find diamond fossils. That is an incredibly quick way of doing that. And I outline all of this in my Minecraft 1.19 mining guide if you want to take a look at that, and all the information in there is accurate to 1.19 Bedrock Edition and every other version of the game that is 1.19. Will different colors of Allays be added in the future of Minecraft? Well, I think that's not only possible but also very probable, considering the fact that Minecraft Legends, even what you see on the title screen, features a yellow Allay on it. And it seems to me that the Allay is going to turn into a mob used in the game a lot for different purposes, sort of like how the creeper, zombie, and skeleton are used in a lot of ways of representing the game, so might the Allay be in the future. But whatever color they end up being, just be aware not to summon in literal thousands of them. It would be cool though in the future if there's all different kinds of Allay colors, each one with unique abilities, and maybe each one found in different dimensions or structures. What is the easiest way to find lush caves in Minecraft? Well, certain cave types like the Dripstone caves don't actually have a specific way of finding them, but Mojang has added a specific way to find the lush caves. If you're going through your world and you happen to find a tree that looks like this, sort of limeish green leaves with these pink flowers, and an oak trunk, this is an azalea tree. They can generate somewhat in the water like this, and they can also be quite frequent depending on where you are. And if you find one of these, then you know exactly where a lush cave is, because at the bottom of every azalea tree there is a lush cave that its massive root system extends down towards. So it could be a small lush cave like this, or it could actually not be a small lush cave at all. It may lead into a massive lush cave, just like this one does here. You can see this opens up into a very large area, and once you have found a lush cave, these biomes are very large, so you should be able to find lots more of caves with that type of terrain around here. The next question asks, why can't ancient debris and of course netherite burn in lava? Well, I would say the reason for this is because, of course, ancient debris is not only a special material, likely the ruins of some ancient nether civilization, and although there's no other items in the game that can withstand the heat of the nether, like you'd think maybe other nether blocks could do that, we do have some other examples of something almost doing the same. So for instance, if you try setting them on fire, the trees in the nether cannot burn, although they do burn in lava. So I would say, just as like with certain metals in real life, these metals have been treated specially by the heat in the nether to be able to withstand it for a long time. This question asks, will the Ender Dragon egg get an update if there is an end update, along with all the features in the end, as of course there's nothing you can really do with it. Now, of course, I do not know the actual answer to this, but based on speculation, I would say it's very likely that it will. Considering the fact that this is a very rare and also central item in the game, I think it wouldn't make sense if there wasn't a way of getting this item in a form that you could actually do something with it, as of course it's rather uncommon that an item that's that important would really not have a use. But I wouldn't be surprised if they don't update it either, as of course the only real thing you would do with it is hatch it to get another Ender Dragon. You already resummon the Ender Dragon with End Crystals, so the only real point of this would be, let's say, a rideable dragon, which I can't really see coming to Minecraft anytime soon, but we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully I answered a question you have about Minecraft with these 25 questions. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.